My name is Harvie S., and we are here at Harvie's Corner at Kolstein, NYC. And this is a new podcast, and it's called Bass in the Corner. This kind of comes from when us bass players get to a place. The first thing we look for is a corner. Where are we going to put the bass? So this is the Bass Corner. And what I'm doing is talking with great bass players that are on the New York scene in a lot of different styles. And they're the lifeblood of the music scene. And they don't get a lot of recognition. So you're going to get a personal side of these wonderful bass players. So over here is Mr. Greg Jones, who is a good friend, and I love the way he plays. And I'm so glad he could come here today. And so how you doing, Greg?
I'm good. How are you doing, Harvie?
Thank you. I feel, pretty good considering all that I've been through today. But anyway.
And thank you so much for having me here. I'm very honored to be here amongst all these great bassists.
Yes, thank you. It's great. Well, another great bass player among the great bass players.
You're very kind, but I'm sure there's somebody at home going, who is he?
No. Well, then we're trying to change that. We want people to know who you are. So anyway, Greg, of course, they can go online and read. You're on a lot of records, and people can find out about you. So, but what are you doing now? What are your latest endeavors?
Well, it's been let's go back to the whole pandemic. So the pandemic has actually been really good for me. I actually stayed really busy. Did a lot of remote church stuff the first half a year. And then I did season 4 of Mrs. Maisel, both as an actor and as a player.
Get out.
Yeah. So I'm with the strip club band.
Really?
And
I didn't know that.
Let your imagination run how it goes.
That.
But yes, if you see a naked woman, you'll see me in the pit.
Oh,
and actually hear me playing.
That's a gig with the benefits.
Interesting benefits, yes.
Oh well, so you're in what season?
Season 4.
I'm going to look for that.
All through it, pretty much every episode, and the beginning of season 5 as well.
Wow, congratulations. And you're playing acoustic or electric?
Playing acoustic.
Acoustic bass.
Because it's a period piece.
You do both.
So, right. Well, it's a period piece, though, so it takes place circa like the late 50s, early 60s. So,
right.
So
you didn't have an amp?
No amp, no.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's a great gig.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It kept me busy. So
yeah.
I did that for almost a year, actually.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
Then as soon as
I wasn't aware of that.
As soon as I finished doing that, I started doing some off-Broadway stuff, which turned into I actually got to meet John Miller and helped him out with a show he was working on, the touring version of the Tina Turner show.
Oh.
So I did that for a couple of months in Rhode Island and Boston. And then a bunch of workshops. So I was kind of like all in theaters for most of 2022. This year, 2023, has been a little quieter, so I've been doing a lot of writing. So I've been co-writing with a New Zealand pianist-singer named Adrienne McKay. And it's great working with her because her style is completely different than mine. She's very easy to work with, but it's kind of like forcing me to try some new textures and stuff, So
what are you doing? You're writing music for her, and she's...
We're writing music together with
wow.
the aims of putting out a project at some point. But also,
is it lyrics or is it...
With lyrics,
With
yes,
lyrics,
yes.
that's what I thought.
So she sings, I sing a little bit.
Oh, another talent.
I wouldn't call it a talent. It might be a detriment, but I do it anyways.
Wow, that's great. Wow. I want to come and hear some of this. I am going to watch Miss Maisel because I have Amazon Prime, so it's on
there.
There
you go.
right?
Yeah,
I can watch it. And that's a series that I have never really seen. So
yeah, it's actually really well written. I mean, I was actually a fan of the show.
I'm into brutal crime dramas, so like I'll have to go for some Miss Maisel, which would be lighten things up a bit.
It's not as light as you would think. I mean, the story is loosely based on Joan Rivers and Phyllis Diller, who were like they kind of like the cutting edge women comedians.
Oh, they were great.
Coming up in a time where like they just weren't women comedians on the main street. scene or mainstream. So seeing like their struggles and just like trying to establish themselves as not just as women but as humans at a time where it's hard to imagine, but 40 or 50 years ago, women didn't go to lunch by themselves. So
no way.
Or if a woman had to do business, she had to have a man, to speak for her. So seeing a character that's like really like female centric.
Right. And the women that would break out during that time.
Yes.
They got a lot of, people that made it very difficult for them.
Yes.
Because they said, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. So that's good. So it's really about a lot of women's rights.
Yeah.
Which is, so important.
Indeed. So it's been eye-opening and a fun experience for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful. I got to watch more of that. Thank you. These podcasts, I learn more. I benefit more than anybody. So I'm going to watch Miss Maisel with a good understanding and get to see you play. Wow. That's fantastic. And I remember seeing you you do like what I love is you're a great Brazilian player, and I love Brazilian music, and I really love playing that music, and I've seen you play many times, and you really have it. So when I name your favorite Brazilian bass players from Brazil, I can name a few.
Ooh, wow, man!
Either acoustic or electric.
Cezanne. No longer with us. Sergio Rendon.
Sergio, he was a friend of mine.
Yeah, a friend of mine too.
I love Sergio, and he's gone.
Jamil Jones.
He's in the West Coast, right? Yeah. He's on the Doricayemi stuff.
Yes.
Oh, killer.
Louis Almeida.
Louis Al is
who I still listen to daily and study and like just try to cop his vibe.
Louis Al was like I called him the Ray Brown of Brazilian music. He's like that.
Right. He kind of created the tradition. I helped create it.
And Luis Alves.
Yes. Yeah. A bunch of cats. I mean, pretty much any Brazilian that picks up a bass. There's also, see if I have his name correct, Paulo Paulelli. I think his name is.
Love, he plays with Jose Passos.
Yes, plays 5-string, yes. And
I love the way he plays.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I recently did a recording with Rosa Passos, and so I wanted to get more familiar with her. So I started to listen to all these records that Paulo, he killed me.
Yeah,
and they did,
and that band stretches a lot live. I mean, like I've never seen with a singer. They stretch, and she's totally into it.
It's Brazilian, but it's jazz. Yeah, it's really jazz.
Yeah, it's totally jazz. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned him because he blew my mind. What a great play, acoustic and electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like you. He plays both. I'm mostly acoustic bass. One time in my life I was doing a lot of electric bass for many years. I was really in it, doing funk and doing all that, fusion music and doing it. But now people just, they look at me like that. I'd say, well, I can play electric on that. No, it's okay. So, all right. Maybe I'm doomed to be just an acoustic bass player.
Yeah, I think I'm transitioning because I now kind of everything I do starts with the phrase, well, for a man of a certain age, it's like, okay, that's fine. I don't mind playing upright. I love playing upright, but I also love playing electric as well.
Yeah.
So one of the people I work with a lot lately is a singer named Jackie Ribas, she's Brazilian.
Oh, okay.
But she's a Brazilian R&B singer.
Ooh.
She sounds like Chaka Khan with more chops. And she grew up in the Brazilian Pentecostal church. Wow. So like she knows all the music and the stylistic stuff that I grew up with.
Wow.
And
I want to hear that. Yeah. If you do a gig, you got to let me know.
Yeah, I think we're playing at Barreto in October. I think the first.
Well, send me a notice because I would be interested in hearing that. That sounds really really good.
Yeah, she's an amazing talent.
Yeah. So like now, when you started playing bass, like who were your early influences? Your really early influences?
Okay, so first I have to qualify that by I'm a really late starter, late bloomer. So I didn't start playing bass until I was 18.
Same with me.
Really? Interesting. Maybe I should interview you. Now, I think I overheard your first instrument was piano.
I was a piano player. I have a degree in piano and composition. I never studied bass.
No kidding. So I got into New England Conservatory as a piano major as well.
Wow. So you and I have a lot more in common. I always felt close to you. I don't know why. Wow, we definitely have a lot in common.
Okay, that explains a lot about your harmonic sense, because you definitely hear stuff that most bass players don't typically hear. So
you were a piano player.
Yeah, I was a piano player. When I started school,
I started school as a piano player too.
Yeah, and so because I went to school in Boston, New England had a master class of Miroslav Vitas.
Right.
While I was still in high school, so I went to that and I got to hear him play a bunch. And I was already acquainted with his playing, and especially his bow playing, because I'd never seen anyone play with a bow like that. So I was into his playing. I was like, oh, this is great. And when school started, I asked the silly question, can I split my lesson time between piano and bass? Because it was like, he's there. It's like, I was playing a little bit of electric, and I thought, maybe I'll take a few lessons to just like get some electric together. And so they said, sure, you can do half and half. Like, great. So Miroslav called to set up lessons, and so he goes, acoustic or electric? And I go, oh, how about acoustic? And I didn't have a bass, so I had to go find a bass really quick.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
Except I didn't have a teacher. I stayed on piano. But yeah, so you started on piano, which is what I did. And, I tell people, I said, at school, the famous band there is the blues band. The Phil Wilson Blues Band.
Ah, yes.
And I said, who was the first piano player ever in the Phil Wilson Blues Band?
No kidding.
I was the first piano
Wow.
player. So it's really kind of funny. But so we got into bass. So so like what bass players kind of influenced you? I know you studied with Miroslav, who's a phenomenal bass player.
Phenomenal, and a very unique bass player as well.
Yeah, he's got his own thing.
But as a kid, I had an older cousin who was deep into Miles Davis. So Ron Carter's sound was something I knew from age 4. And that's always still to this day, like the sound I hear in my head.
Can't lose.
Ray Brown, I would see on TV.
Ray Brown. Everybody so far has mentioned Ray Brown, and myself included, as being one of the people.
But it was funny. Someone I listened to a lot as a teenager was you. So you spent a lot of time in Boston. Like Boston jazz radio loved you and Sheila Jordan. So every time I turn on jazz radio, it's like Harvie Swartz.
Right, I was
Sheila
Swartz
Jordan,
then, yes.
And it was like, wow. I was like, who is this guy that I moved to New York and meet you? I was like, that's the guy. So I heard a lot of you and loved it, and great influence. Charles Fambro, who used to play McCoy
I love
Tyner.
Charles. He was wonderful. Yeah.
I saw McCoy Tyner because, again, being a piano player, I was really into piano players. So I saw McCoy when I was 13, and I had never seen music that powerful before. And I was sitting at I think it was Paul's Mall, the Jazz Workshop.
Yes.
Sitting right behind him, Charles Fambro was like huge sound, huge guy. It's like, wow, that's amazing. And then Stanley Clarke playing with Chick.
Stanley's he's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, these are the folks that really maybe say, I want to do that.
Those are good people. Oh, that's good. I'm glad we're doing this because I'm learning a lot about you. And this is the kind of stuff that they can look you up on the internet, but they're not going to hear these stories. They're not going to know these things about you. Where'd you grow up? Where did you come from?
So I am from Boston. Actually,
you are from Boston.
I'm a Boston native, born and raised in the city
right
of Boston.
in Boston, you were
right
born.
in Boston.
Because I was born in Chelsea.
Really?
Yeah.
The home of Chick Corea.
Home of Chick Corea. I lived in Boston. I lived in Chelsea, and then we moved to Winthrop.
I know that well.
I was in Winthrop, and then after that, we moved to Marblehead.
Marblehead.
I went to Marblehead, and I lived in Marblehead, and then I went to Berkeley. And so I'm with Boston.
Okay,
See, unbelievable. Find all these things we have in common. We both started at 18 on piano playing, then we started the bass. And came up in Boston. It's amazing how these.
Yeah, it was a great music town. I mean, it still is. It's different now.
It was better.
But back then, it's like there were all these clubs where you could just go in and hear like anybody. I don't know if you were in Boston when Teddy Wilson was playing at the Copley Plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was free. You could go and I would go
Yeah,
and
he was
stand-
just playing background piano there.
Yeah.
You could just,
But you could sit
Dave
at the
McKenna
piano.
used to play there too.
Yeah, exactly. But you could just sit at the piano while, like, one of the last of the Stride legends would just play.
Yeah.
So I would hear him all the time. I remember Terry Lynn Carrington was like a few years younger than me, but I would see her as a little kid, like playing her butt off.
I know her
Wow,
at
what is this?
14
Yeah.
or 13. So great. Well, anyway, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to talk
Yeah,
with you.
indeed.
So we'll be putting this out, and this is going to be the new podcast, and it's called Bass in the Corner. And when it comes out, we'll put links of all your stuff, and people can click on the links and find out more about you. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to show the bass player, which is the bass players that are the lifeblood of this New York music scene, and show them in different, show them what they can, show them to everybody, like now I didn't know that you were played in Mrs. Maisel, Miss Maisel, whatever. I didn't know that. I just know you, and I've heard you on a lot of Brazilian gigs and heard you around with a lot of great people. And so, I find all these other things that you play piano. This is great.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank
Harvey.
you, Greg. What a pleasure.
And thank you for bringing me to Bass Heaven. This place
Right.
is
And please come back
amazing.
again.
Oh, definitely.
Anytime,
Definitely.
have a coffee, hang out at Harvey's Corner.
Yeah.
You're always welcome.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.